if you know this, but you're talking to two authors right now. One's a bestseller in the neighborhood, and one's a New York Times two-time bestseller in Emmanuel Acho. But you have a new book called Letters to a Young Athlete. Tell us about it.
Yeah, after I was done playing, in my mind, I saw my career going a certain way. I saw myself working up to that point of being the old timer, hitting the dusty trail and riding off in the sunset, and that didn't happen. I had to come to grips with a lot of realities, and I truly had to learn what perseverance means, what teamwork means. And, I embarked on a quest to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with my life, what I'm going to do with myself, and what's the message that I want to leave. And, I just really started out emptying my mind and writing, just trying to put my, energy and my talent into something else that I love doing. And so, the more I did it, the more I saw that I needed to change my mind frame. That was the first part. And then the second part was just to understand that I appreciate the game of basketball. And I had to understand how much I do appreciate it. And so what I wanted to do was kind of leave these blueprints, right? Through these stories and people that I admire, and pretty much reverse engineer my success. And, in the hopes that younger athletes or older athletes or doctors or lawyers or chefs will be able to listen to that universal message, read it, take it for themselves, and go to aspire to do something great.
Now, Chris, the book is Letters to a Young Athlete, but talk to young athletes, maybe even old athletes, because I think about this. I was looking at you, looking at your numbers earlier in preparation for this conversation. Obviously, I'm familiar with you. You're from Dallas. You currently live in Austin. I'm from Dallas. I used to live in Austin. Before you joined the super team of the Heat, Chris Bosh was averaging 24 points, 10 assists. Then you joined the super team of the Heat, and you go to now averaging 17 points and 7 rebounds, not assists, excuse me. It's not that you lost your talent, but you had to humble yourself for the greater good of the team. Take me through your mental process. How hard was that? And what's your advice for people who have to humble themselves for the greater good of the team?
Yeah, it was a huge challenge. I had to look at myself as, of course, as a multifaceted basketball player. I had to start playing defense, which is usually, when guys that have talent and that's young on the offensive end, they don't want to play any defense, right? I had to learn how to play defense. I had to learn schemes. I had to be a master on the defensive end and on the offensive end, get my guys open. There were so many other facets to the game that I could help a championship team win a championship. And that's what it came down to. I had to take the ego out of it. And it wasn't about averaging points, because if I would have averaged 24 points and not won, then it wouldn't matter, So what I always tell people is that, when I was getting those numbers in Toronto, it was great. The fans always supported me. The tough part was that first weekend in the playoffs or being, back in shape by the time, Kobe is still playing in the finals and I'm back in shape because I've been off for so long. I've got to get ready for next season right now, So I got tired of sitting on the sidelines, and it became a matter more so of contributing on a championship team, contributing for a winner, and being selfless and sacrificing perceived success through numbers.
I mean, look, it's great being Chris Bosh. Think about this. I mean, everything that we read in terms of intro, and you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations and tremendous success. But in terms of national attention, you're the great Chris Bosh who's in Toronto, 24-11, and then you make the transition to go to the Big Three. Now, once you're a part of the Big Three, obviously your Q rating rises, more cachet, you're getting more attention, but then there's going to be less production because of your teammates. Did you anticipate, though, the disrespect that was coming your way when you like, dog, I was just 24-11. This sacrifice is by my own doing.
That was the tough part, right? I joke around and I tell people, I thought I was going to be the leading scorer on that team because I could score the basketball pretty consistently on the left block. I thought I was going to get my normal amount of touches. And then on top of that, I said, dude, use your brain. Dwayne and LeBron are going to be making plays for you. That's going to be great, right? So many points. You have to come to reality when you start talking to the coaches and having team meetings and say, okay, this is going to be our team identity, and this is what we're going to relate to. And yeah, that was the toughest part when guys were coming at me and, telling me I'm not that good. And I'm like, man, come on. I told you he's not that good. He only had 14 points. This system was not designed for me to be a primary scorer. Some nights they would happen, and those nights were fun. But most importantly, I always tell people, if you're going to criticize the game, criticize me because I won. Criticize me because we were successful. Don't, I'm going to make sure that I make it tough on people because, it didn't matter to me. It was always about performing. And you can look at any highlight, any time in the league in my time. I performed when it was time, and that's what it was all about.
Talk that talk.
I love that, man. 3 former athletes up here right now. Look, we could stay in 2010 all day, but we got to bring it current right now. And one of your teammates you brought up, LeBron James. You saw that game last night, lost by 30 points. Now, do you believe and have faith that LeBron James could rescue this Lakers team that right now is down 3-2?
You can never count a team out, especially a team led by LeBron, right? And, yeah, let's be frank. They got smashed. They got whooped, And, hey, let me tell you something. I've been whooped. I've had those games. I'm pretty sure they already knew it was going to be a very tough environment from a very motivated team down there in Phoenix. At the end of the day, it's one game. Of course, when you lose by 30, it's a difference between losing by 30 on another NBA team and then losing by 30 when you're on the Lakers. It's a huge difference. There's going to be a lot of pressure, especially to perform in their home crowd. But, look for them to be energized. Look for Bron to come out, be who he needs to be. It'll be a good game. They need to get healthy. That's their struggle right now. But, all in all, Phoenix looks pretty good. It looks like they smell blood. They know they have the champs on the ropes. So look for Phoenix as well to really, really deliver that knockout punch or try to in Game 6.
You played with LeBron James, so we're going to stay here. You saw him at his athletic peak at a minimum. Maybe not his basketball peak, but his athletic peak. When you look at LeBron, what's the biggest difference between the LeBron James you played with and the 36-year-old LeBron James playing right now?
I think now he's more controlled. He's more patient. He's kind of like the equivalent of a boxer that comes out the first few rounds and kind of spars with you, throws a lot of jabs early. He's continued to improve his outside shot. They're using him more in that kind of point forward / point guard role. I would like to see him get down in the post a little more and take advantage of his size. But I think back then, with being younger and having a little more athleticism, he was all over the court. This guy could do it on defense. He could do it on offense. He attacked the paint, ferociously pretty much every game. He was able to get back, get to the free throw line quite a bit. He didn't shoot as many jumpers as he does now. He's polished that part of his game as he's went on. So I would say those are the biggest two differences in his game. I
need your opinion on this one because you played the game at a higher level than most everybody that has ever walked the planet. LeBron James, he said yesterday, CB, he said, I always make the right basketball play. But a guy like Michael Jordan might say that the ball in my hands is the right basketball play. Give me your opinion, because you've been on the court. Take me there. Was there ever a moment where it's like, Bron, you're the greatest player on the planet. Just shoot. I don't care if you're doubled. I don't care if you're tripled. Give me your opinion as somebody more intelligent than anybody else talking about the matter of, yes, should LeBron just keep the ball in his hands as opposed to making the right play sometimes?
So, yeah, there always is a facet to that, right? He's always trying to pick apart and decode the game, and one of that is being unselfish. He is an unselfish basketball player. Even in our days in Miami, he started the first 6-7 minutes of every game, getting his guys involved, distributing the ball. I think the closest we've seen to him having to be that guy to just say, okay, yeah, the ball in your hands is the right play, was when I think what they won in Cleveland. What was that, 2016, I believe? Yeah, when he pretty much had to average 40, him and Kyrie had to average 40 points in the last 3 or 4 games for them to come back and overtake that series and win the championship. I think he's to that point now, and he knows it. And he's always going to say those things. I'm going to make the right basketball play because there is a flow into the game. The funny part now, though, is that the flow requires him to shoot every shot. We always say, look, don't go home with an empty clip.
That's it.
I guarantee you that he will have that mind frame going into the rest of the games, probably for the rest of the season.
Okay, Chris, I'm learning in this game as well as being a broadcaster, as a host. I got a two-parter, but I'm going to ask you one at a time because I learned if you ask both of them, you're going to take the easier one. So first one is, I know this, because of LeBron you played with, win this series without AD. Yep. Okay. Yep. Say it.
Look, the Phoenix Suns are pretty good. They're the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. They were right there fighting for the number 1 seed. And, with the exception of Chris's shoulder injury or arm injury or whatever it is, they're pretty close to healthy, so they're closer to 100% than the Lakers. They seem to be very motivated. Like I say, they've got them on the ropes. They're well coached. And it just seems like this team is ready for that moment, especially led by Chris Paul. He's in it to win a championship. And, if the Phoenix Suns are serious, it would make a huge statement to the league if they went out there to L.A. and closed them out on the home court, in the Staples Center. That'd be crazy.
Okay, walk with me on the second part of this timeline. LeBron comes to the L.A. Lakers. First year, gets injured. They don't make the playoffs. Second year, he gets Anthony Davis. They win it all. This year, Anthony Davis gets hurt. They're on the brink of losing in the first round. I would argue that last night showed that Anthony Davis is more crucial to the Lakers' success than your former teammate LeBron. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think Bron would agree with you too. They make it a point to get AD the ball when he's healthy. And, he's very much so involved in the offense. So whether he or LeBron are taking the most shots, is still a 1-2 punch. You can't tell which one is, number one. He's a huge part of this team. And, for any team to be successful, especially winning a championship, the playoffs are hard. You've got to have your whole team. You've got to be as close to 100% as possible. And, if you have nagging injuries or have injuries, period, that's just going to hinder your success. And I mean, even in the guys that are playing, Caldwell Pope, he's had, problems with his quad. So, it just seems to kind of all be falling apart for the Lakers right now, just through injury and not playing well. But it's not over until it's over. And as long as you have LeBron James, you've got a shot. So they just need to take it one play at a time, one game at a time, and really just live for the day.
CB, in your book, Letter to a Young Athlete, I know you talk about teamwork. I know you talk about resiliency. LeBron has been down 3-2 before. The most famous time he was ever, I would say, one of the most famous down 3-2 was when you were there in Miami, Boston Celtics. We all talk about LeBron. We don't talk about Chris Bosh because you played 14 minutes in the game where you went down 3-2, back injury, and then you came off the bench in that 3-2 game. So now you've been in that Anthony Davis situation before, helpless, watching your team go out there and fight without you, watching LeBron have to put the whole team on his back in part because you're battling through an injury. Take me through your mindset or what AD might be going through. How bad do you want to be out there? And do you risk going out there even if you know you might be a detriment to your team? What's the thought process?
Well, it was crazy for me because I had, I pretty much tore my adductor muscle. We said it was a strain, but I tore my adductor muscle, and the closest I could play was 3 weeks. So I pretty much had to put myself in a position and have the mental preparation and the fortitude to say, okay, let me train every day and get healthy, as close to being healthy as I can, just so I could get out there. And then even on top of that, I still had to play with a tremendous amount of pain. In AD's situation, it's fresh. He just strained it. And those groins, I'm sure you guys have struggled with those injuries before too. You don't mess around with those. So to be honest, in my experience, unless the Lakers make it to the Western Conference Finals, I don't see AD playing anymore this year.
Wow. You talked about mindset right now. Let's switch gears a little bit. Naomi Osaka made a lot of news this week in terms of her pulling out of the French Open and citing her anxiety. I know you've suffered from some anxiety issues before. I go to therapy as well. But can you enlighten our audience and describe the difference between anxiety and, frankly, just not wanting to do something that comes with the sport? Please make the distinction.
That's been such an interesting topic. And, everybody's going to have their opinion, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. What I have to always remind people is to say, okay, Naomi, she's out there competing. She does not want to pull out of a major tournament. There has to be something wrong because to do as much training as I'm sure she does. I'm sure she loves going out there and competing, but to cite something and then pull out and withdraw, shows how serious she has taken it and how serious it is. The difference between, I learned how to get over those things by just, believing in my preparation, going through those moments as much as possible, working on breathing techniques, working out, having hobbies to kind of occupy my mind. Those things, help me. And I think the biggest difference probably is just your physical reaction. Not wanting to do something is because I don't want to do it. I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to get up. I don't want to answer, these questions. Anxiety more so could be like, what are they going to ask me? And I could only imagine what it's like being a tennis player because it's a single sport, so she's out there on the road. I'm sure she has a team, but, it's not a sport where you have teammates and they're on the road for weeks at a time, especially during this leg, being over there in Europe. And I'm sure it gets lonely. I'm sure she wants to go home. I'm sure it's difficult. And, when you get in a position where you think, people might be after you, that's when anxiety starts kicking in and performance becomes secondary. You want to be healthy and you want to make sure that you're in the right space to compete.
Yeah, you talk about the misdiagnosis of the physical injury, and there are so many moments where I don't know if I was even properly diagnosed in terms of mental anxiety and the participation of sport. But what was one of your lowest moments, worst moments in terms of anticipation of either playing or just the process of preparing to play where your anxiety was really taking over?
My first, and this is when I got rid of, well, I don't want to say I'm a doctor or anything. I got rid of it. But the worst time I want to say was like in 2006, 2007, I believe. It was our first time going to the playoffs. My first time going to the playoffs. We were the number 3 seed in Toronto. We won the Atlantic Division title, and we're feeling good about ourselves. And then the playoffs came, and I just started having these weird feelings of just, I don't know, which we know now is anxiety, but I was feeling strange and I was in my mind and I wasn't sure and I was worrying about things I shouldn't have been worrying about. And then after that, we lost and I said, oh, okay, yeah, that's dumb. I'm not going to do that anymore. I came out and had a terrible game. So I said, all right, yeah, let me switch it up. That's not working for me. I'm confident in myself. I believe in myself. And let me go out here and get the job done. So that was kind of my quick snap back into reality for me. But, a lot of people don't have those tools. A lot of people don't, sometimes, most of the times, even know what's going on to them. They just have to kind of read and react to the situation, and that can be scary. But, for me, luckily, it was only that one instance. And then I learned from that experience, and I was able to continue to kind of, not let things get to me too much and just focus on my craft.
We talked about the lows. Now, I just got one final one about the highs. You were 40-0 en route to a state title at Lincoln High School. You win a gold medal. You win 2 NBA championships. As you reflect now on all the great things you accomplished in your career, what is the first one that comes to mind? What are you most not proud of, but what is the accomplishment that resonates the loudest?
It's the championship. the NBA championships, to be honest with you. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, they were the GOATs. You know, they were our heroes. They were my heroes growing up. From the first moment I was 7 years old in June of 1991 in Dayton, Ohio, watching Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson play in the finals. I didn't know what I was watching, but it started sticking, and I wanted to do that. So, you know, to actually have those same experiences, to fight through and actually be able to hold that trophy, but more importantly, make connections along the way, you know, have a brotherhood with a team, you know, it was just a tremendous accomplishment, but we had a great time doing it. That's what was most important.
Man, every single champion, look, Chris, I ain't win jack. Every single champion I know always say it's the championships. But then I look up your career earnings, and I'm like, I know what I would have said. Good Lord, Chris Bosh, you was out there eating. Let me get to this breaking news out of college basketball because it ties into you. Reportedly, Duke head coach Mike K has just decided to retire after this upcoming season. So you won a gold medal. Acho brought it up. Playing for Coach K in the 2008 Olympics. Your reaction to one of the all-time great head coaches stepping down?
Man, I mean, it's the end of an era. I mean, Coach K, what he did for the game of basketball in Duke University and young men and women all over the world and the country has been second to none. And I mean, if you cut him, he'll bleed Duke blue. I mean, 5 national championships, pretty much competing every year, having the best players in the country, a tremendous amount of professionals to go through those doors. He has mentored and coached some of the greatest to ever play this game. And I mean, he is the greatest. And in that experience with the Olympic gold medal team, he made every day fun. You know, every day coming into work, I look forward to getting on that practice court. I look forward you know, to the film sessions and what he was going to say, because he was a very good communicator in a sense that he knew how to get the best out of people. And just to see him close out a storied career and to be able to have that moment and have that season to just go out and coach it regardless of what happens. I know he's looking forward to it. I'm so happy for him. And, you know, basketball won't be the same without him. I mean, him and Roy Williams, man, I'm watching that highlight you guys just showed up. Like, that's crazy. They're both not going to be coaching anymore after next year. But, you know, time moves on, and I'm sure they'll move on to other great things.
All right, man. Let's just get a fast minute in here before we let you go, Chris Bosh. This show is called Speak for Yourself, as you know. So I want you to speak for yourself. Right now, pick a player. Who's better, Jordan or LeBron?
Why we got it?
What happened? You've been keeping it 100 the whole time.
I can't. For sure. Keep it 100. I can't, man. It's two different players, man. You know,
yeah. They got two different names too.
Yeah, 2 different players, 2 different names. You know, it's tough to, when you really dig into basketball, it's tough. Unless guys are very, very similar, it's too tough to compare them.
Okay, you or AD?
Oh, AD's way better. I told him that. We played each other. It was a Christmas game in my last year in the league. And, you know, Bron wasn't there. We're trying to get back to where we were. It was a very important game to me. I was surprised they put us on the Christmas schedule. I was like, yo, D-Wade, yo, let's go. You know? And I remember guarding AD. And, you know, it was in the first quarter. And I said, man, I don't think he knows what he has yet. Let me try to get as much out this league as I can, because that guy is pretty good.
Oh, man, you've been tremendous with us and a gentleman, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, and great success with your book.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.